It is officially over. Reports are circulating that Rick Ross has just lost a staggering $70 million in assets. But the real story isn't the money. It's who pushed him over the edge. 50 Cent just made a move that the entire hip-hop industry is calling unforgivable. Is this the final blow that collapses the Maybach music empire? Or has 50 Cent finally gone too far? Let's look at the facts before the internet destroys the rest of the story. For nearly 2 decades, the name Rick Ross has been synonymous with the absolute pinnacle of hip-hop opulence. If you look up the word excess in a dictionary, you might just find a picture of his 60,000 square foot promised land estate in Georgia. His life has been a carefully curated exhibition of the impossible. Private jets with gold-plated lettering, fleets of vintage muscle cars, and a lifestyle that made his fans feel like they were right there in the passenger seat of his Maybach. But for every peak, there is a valley, and lately, the view from the valley has been getting a lot more attention than the summit. The mystery doesn't start with a single headline. It starts with a fracture in the illusion. The rumor mill began churning when internet sleuths, the self-appointed detectives of the digital age, noticed that the biggest boss had been seen navigating the humble, mundane reality of commercial travel. To the average person, flying commercial is a standard Tuesday. But to a brand built entirely on the concept of being untouchable, it was an earthquake. Social media didn't just notice. It feasted. Within hours, the internet was a digital courtroom. Critics, trolls, and genuine fans began to pick apart the Ross reality. They started cross-referencing his past interviews, where he boasted about massive business ventures and billion-dollar mindsets, with the recent, more quiet reality of his public appearances. The gap between what we were told and what we were seeing became a chasm. Then, the rumors shifted from "is he just being practical" to something far more dangerous. Is he broke? When reports began to surface involving a staggering $70 million asset seizure, the narrative went from gossip to potential catastrophe. In the world of high-stakes celebrity branding, image is a currency. If that currency is devalued, the entire empire, the wing franchises, the real estate portfolio, the music legacy, suddenly looks fragile. People started digging into old tax liens, previous legal battles, and the long, quiet periods between his major music releases. This is the gap. It is the space between the legend and the man. The mystery here is deeper than just money. It's about the vulnerability of the icon. Fans want to know if the biggest boss is just playing a masterstroke of financial discipline, making smart cuts to save his wealth, or if the financial weight of maintaining an empire of this size has finally crushed the foundation. And then, looming over every conversation, is the shadow of 50 Cent. In this mystery, 50 isn't just a bystander. He is the gasoline on the fire. He has spent years waiting for a moment where the Rick Ross image would wobble. For 50, this isn't just about winning a feud. It's about proving that the empire was built on sand. By amplifying these rumors, he isn't just trolling. He's aggressively challenging the legitimacy of Ross's entire career. The question is no longer just, did he lose $70 million? The question is, if he loses the image, does he lose everything else? We are watching a high-stakes chess match where one player is fighting to keep his reputation alive, and the other is holding a sledgehammer, waiting for the first sign of weakness. The internet is obsessed because we love a fall from grace story. But the real mystery is whether this is the end of an era, or just the most dramatic chapter yet. To understand the truth, we have to stop looking at the memes and start looking at the mechanics of the wealth itself. Because when you peel back the layers of the $70 million headline, the reality is far more complex and far more brutal than any internet troll could ever imagine. Before we let the internet run wild with the idea that Rick Ross's entire world is collapsing, we need to take a step back. We need to talk about what actually happens when headlines scream $70 million asset seizure. If you want to understand why these stories become so volatile, you have to understand the difference between the image of wealth and the mechanics of net worth. The biggest mistake most people make when analyzing celebrity finances is confusing net worth with liquidity. When a publication estimates that someone is worth $150 million, they aren't saying that person has $150 million sitting in a shoebox under their bed. That number is a calculation of assets: real estate, equity in businesses, music royalties, and luxury goods. It's all on paper. But when you face a financial hurdle like a tax lien or a legal dispute, the government and your creditors don't care about what your mansion is worth on paper. They care about cash. This is where the valley we mentioned earlier becomes dangerous. Maintaining an empire like the one Rick Ross built is like running a small country. You aren't just paying for the house. You're paying for the security, the property taxes on 300 acres, the staff, the insurance on exotic car collections, and the overhead for dozens of Wingstop franchises. These are fixed costs. They don't stop, they don't pause, and they don't care if you had a hit record this year or not. When a headline mentions an asset seizure, it's often a legal process meant to force liquidity. Think of it as a warning shot. It's the system saying, we need to collect, and we're going to look at your most valuable things to get it. So, is Ross broke? Not necessarily. But is he cash poor? That's the real question. Many high net worth individuals live asset rich and cash poor. They have millions tied up in land and equity that might take months or years to sell. If a legal storm hits, they can't just sell a wing of their mansion to pay a lawyer. They have to scramble. And this is exactly what the public is sensing. They are sensing the scramble. When you see a mogul like Rick Ross opting for commercial flights, your brain interprets it as a downgrade. But in the business world, it's often a pivot. It's an attempt to preserve cash flow during a turbulent time. However, because Ross spent his entire career selling the idea that he is above the rules of normal life, he can't explain this to the public without breaking the character he worked so hard to build. This is the trap of the biggest boss persona. If he comes out and says, "I'm flying commercial because I'm being financially disciplined during a legal dispute," he destroys the aura of invincibility. If he stays silent, he lets the internet believe he is broke. It is a no-win scenario, and it is the exact kind of high-stakes tension that 50 Cent lives for. 50 Cent knows that the public doesn't understand the nuance of debt versus insolvency. He knows that if he can convince the fans that Ross is struggling, he can effectively devalue Ross's brand. He's taking a complex financial situation and boiling it down to a simple, vicious narrative. The boss is losing his crown. Understanding this nuance is the key to seeing through the noise. Wealthy people have financial problems all the time. That's why they have teams of accountants and lawyers. The real story isn't about whether Ross has $70 million or not. It's about whether he can manage the pressure of his empire while the world watches him struggle to keep the illusion alive. But let's be clear, this isn't just about spreadsheets, tax liens, or the technical difference between net worth and cash flow. If this were a quiet, private business dispute, we wouldn't be talking about it. The reason this has turned into a global hip-hop spectacle is because of one man, 50 Cent. He isn't just a bystander, he is the gasoline on the fire. 50 has spent years waiting for exactly this moment. He has watched, tracked, and studied every move Rick Ross has made since the late 2000s. For 50, this isn't just about winning a petty feud. It is about the calculated destruction of his rival's legacy. When 50 sees a headline about a $70 million asset seizure, he doesn't see a tragedy, he sees a tactical weapon. 50 Cent is weaponizing the public's misunderstanding of celebrity wealth. He knows that the average fan doesn't care about the nuance of liquidity or fixed overhead costs. They care about the headline. By amplifying these rumors, by trolling the $70 million figure, and by constantly poking at the broke narrative, he is doing something far more brutal than a traditional diss track. He is attacking the credibility of the Ross brand. In the rap game, perception is reality. If 50 can convince the culture that Ross is struggling, he effectively devalues Ross's influence. He isn't just attacking a rival rapper, he is dismantling an empire from the outside in. And the fans? They are devouring it. Every time 50 posts a meme, a laughing emoji, or a mock news headline, it goes viral instantly. It creates a narrative loop where Rick Ross is constantly forced onto the defensive. He's pushed into a position where he has to post videos to prove he's still the boss, which is exactly what 50 wants him to do. Think about why 50 Cent specifically chose to call this unforgivable. It's a tactical term. He's positioning himself as the one who finally exposed the truth. He's making sure that even if Ross survives this financial hit, his reputation as an untouchable mogul will be permanently scarred. This is no longer a game of lyrical bars or record sales. It is a game of total survival. 50 is betting that if he hits hard enough and often enough, the illusion of the biggest boss will shatter under the pressure. In the ring of public opinion, 50 Cent isn't just playing a game. He's playing a much sharper, much colder game than anyone else in the industry. He's making sure that while the world watches, Ross isn't just fighting his financial demons. He's fighting a man who refuses to let him breathe. But what does this actually mean for the future of hip-hop? Whether Rick Ross pulls through this $70 million storm or not, one thing is certain. The era of the untouchable mogul is rapidly changing. The industry that helped build these empires, fueled by massive physical record sales and touring dominance, has evolved into a volatile digital landscape. Today, streaming royalties, social media sentiment, and the algorithm itself dictate your worth. Ross spent decades building a brand on grandiosity, but in today's economy, even the biggest boss isn't immune to the crushing pressure of his own overhead. If 50 Cent's aggressive strategy succeeds, it won't just be a personal victory for him. It will signal a fundamental shift in how celebrity influence is valued. We are seeing a transition from luxury as a status symbol to transparency as the new currency. The public is tired of the illusion, and they are increasingly hungry for the truth. This is the ultimate test for Rick Ross. If he addresses the financial reality head-on, he might just evolve his brand for the next decade. But if he continues to hide behind the veil of his biggest boss persona while the world is watching, he risks becoming a relic of a time when the image was worth more than the reality. So, I have to ask you, where do you stand? Do you think 50 Cent is just being a hater? Or is he exposing a necessary reality check that the industry needs? Is it unforgivable to attack a rival's empire when they're down? Or is this just the price of doing business at the top? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. And I want to know who you're siding with in this war. And if you're still trying to figure out how this $70 million saga ends, you won't want to miss our next video. We're doing a deep dive into 50 Cent's own business empire to see if he's actually as untouchable as he claims to be. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the breakdown. This is your channel, and we'll catch you in the next one. So, I have to ask you, where do you stand? Do you think 50 Cent is just being a hater? Or is he exposing a necessary reality check that the industry needs? Is it unforgivable to attack a rival's empire when they're down? Or is this just the price of doing business at the top? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. And I want to know who you're siding with in this war. The debate is already heating up, and I want to see your perspective. And if you're still trying to figure out how this $70 million saga ends, you won't want to miss our next video. We're doing a deep dive into 50 Cent's own business empire to see if he's actually as untouchable as he claims to be, or if he's just projecting his own insecurities. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the breakdown. This is your channel, and we'll catch you in the next one.